This is breaking news. I've heard from multiple sources. 4 locations in Grimsby, Ontario. The owner has fired all of its Canadian staff and is going to be replacing them with temporary foreign workers. All of these staff members, they've been there for 10, 15, 20 years. All of them are going to be let go. And this is happening not just at this Tim Hortons locations, these 4 in Grimsby, but it's happening all across the province. And that is why I am boycotting Tim Hortons. I never go to Tim Hortons to buy their coffee, to buy their junk food. And they pretend to be a Canadian company working for the Canadian community. And this is what they're doing. They're firing Canadian-born and Canadian workers and hiring temporary foreign workers to maximize their bottom line. And they don't give a shit about the community. And honestly, their food is garbage. Please share this video. Let the world know that this is happening. And Tim Hortons is actively going down this campaign of replacing Canadian workers with modern-day slave labor. By the way, Tim Hortons has been lobbying the government to remove the cap for temporary foreign workers. So this is all part of the plan. They're systematically trying to do this. And now this is happening across even more locations in this country. I am never, ever spending another dollar here again. No coffee, none of the garbage donuts or bagels. This company is a disgrace, using the name and the face of Canadians to pretend that they have this good image for the community when they're actually the complete opposite. They are garbage. They're a garbage company. They're not even Canadian.
All right, guys, I don't know if you guys are seeing what's happening with Tim Hortons today. In Grimsby, Ontario, there was a new franchise owner of 4 locations, I believe, that did the unthinkable, did something that is unbelievably disgraceful. For Tim Hortons, who rides off the backs of Canadians in the Canadian name, this owner, which many other Tim Hortons are doing as well, has decided to fire all of the Canadian longtime workers there to replace them with none other than temporary foreign workers. There was recently a CBC article where it was proven and shown that Tim Hortons was campaigning with Liberal MPs to remove the cap for temporary foreign workers, to allow them to hire as many temporary foreign workers as they can to fill their restaurants, to save them money. Tim Hortons has since released a statement that they're going to backtrack on what has happened in Grimsby, and that new owner is going to rehire all the Canadian workers that were let go. This is a consequence, guys, of social media. You know, people critique social media all the time, and rightfully so in many cases. But in these cases, when you provide light to these types of situations, what it does is it provides the response of accountability. And that's what you're seeing here, guys. We cannot allow this to happen, guys. We cannot allow a Canadian restaurant to use the authenticity and beauty of Canada to illustrate the image that this is a Canadian brand, but then fill it with temporary foreign workers while Canadians don't have these jobs. These are entry-level jobs that young Canadians from 15 to 24 years old can occupy. The unemployment rate for young Canadians is at an all-time high, at around 16%, guys. We can't be bringing in temporary foreign workers while our own Canadians are at home unable to work.
At what point are Canadians just going to stop going to Tim Hortons? Me personally, I don't go to Tim Hortons anymore, and I haven't for a long time. The only time I will go is if I receive a gift card from somebody else. And the reason why is very simple. Look at what they were doing in Grimsby, Ontario. They were going to fire all of their staff and bring in temporary foreign workers. And they do that at a lot of other Tim Hortons. And because of this, the quality of Tim Hortons has gone down tremendously. When you walk into one, they're not as clean. The customer service is terrible. There's a 30 to 50% chance they're going to mess up your order. The food isn't as good anymore. And it's very sad because this was one of the great Canadian companies. Everyone loved going to Tim Hortons. They loved the commercials. They loved the feeling when they walked into one. And now you no longer have that. But you know what? If you want to continue to go to Tim Hortons, you can do that. I'm not one of these guys that's going to sit here and say, you need to boycott Tim Hortons. No, if you appreciate the service, if you still like going there, go ahead. I know for myself personally, Starbucks, much better service. They know your name if you go often enough. They never mess up your order. Or you go to a local cafe. You build relationships with people in the community that actually care about you and want to provide you a good service. Yes, you may pay a little bit more, but the quality is definitely worth it. To me, if the company's going to move away from the values and principles that made them great, I'm no longer going to support them if they continue to do that. At least I got to experience Tim Hortons during the peak of its powers.
Merry Christmas. I hope you are having a great time with friends and family this festive season. Now, guys, I told you in my previous video about Tim Hortons that when you see Tim Hortons lobbying MPs so that they can hire more temporary foreign workers. There is something Canadians should expect. And I clearly mentioned that Canadians are going to lose their jobs. Canadians, the few Canadians who are being hired at Tim Hortons are going to lose their jobs. We didn't even spend 3 weeks, 2 weeks. It is literally happening. Now, there is an incident that happened, I think, 2 or 3 days ago. I wasn't sure until I confirmed this, and now we have videos confirming this. Tim Hortons in Ontario has literally fired every Canadian staff that was working at that franchise. And you know what? They replaced these Canadians who are working at that franchise with temporary foreign workers. And this is what I literally told you guys that is going to happen. When you see Tim Hortons lobbying MPs for the past 8 months so that they can hire more foreign workers, you know that something was literally cooking. And that something that was literally cooking is already here, ready to be served to you guys.
So did you all hear about the Tim Hortons in Grimsby who decided to try and fire all of its Canadian workers in order to try and hire TFWs? That was until a workers' post got famous and a local MP decided to call that Tim Hortons chain owner out. So the owner of the Tim Hortons decided to sell his franchise to another Tim Hortons owner. And upon the decision, it was agreed upon that the new owners would essentially fire every single one of them. Now, as to why the new owner would let them all go, we all know why, but there's just no official way that person is going to admit it. I mean, come on, you know you don't get rid of a staff that have been working in a location from 5 to 20 years for no reason. Now, I've been in a lot of situations in which a new company takes over a whole new building, and usually 1 or 2 people let go because of the fact that they don't like the new policies. Not a whole crew, not across multiple sites. But anyways, one of the workers decided to complain about it in a social media post, and an MP read it. Local Conservative MP Dean Allison posted this. Hey Tim Hortons, what are you doing in our town of Grimsby stores? Are you firing all Canadian workers? My constituents and all of us need to know what is happening. And here's another one. Are you allowing the new owner to fire long-term employees who have worked for those stores from 8 to 20 years right before Christmas? We need to know what's happening in the residents of our tight-knit Grimsby community. And I don't know what happened, but apparently the new owner had a change of heart. The selling franchisee has apologized and provided letters today that reconfirm their continued employment. But here's the thing though, that's the selling franchisee. That's not the buyer franchisee saying that. So we got to be careful and keep an eye on this, because the buyer franchisee didn't make any promises yet and he can still change his mind. But this is what I was saying before. Quit blaming Tim Hortons as a whole. It's individual franchisees. It's the people that live in your community that's screwing you over. Personally, I'm so sick and tired of this BS. Tim Hortons uses the Canadian logos and symbols and its history in order to seem like they're Canadian. I don't know, if I was the descendant of Tim Hortons, I would start suing the company for defaming my grandfather's name. I'd make sure they took the name off and have them rename it like, I don't know, Brazilian coffee. And then make it so that they can't use any symbols to pretend like they're Canadians, because they're not. Call it like favela coffees, because y'all love to exploit third world poor people.
Canadians, we have power in numbers. Thank you so much. After we broke the story that Tim Hortons, a new franchisee, laid off all their Canadian staff for temporary foreign workers, Tim Hortons has responded. We have a Tim Hortons franchisee in Grimsby, Ontario, who is planning to retire from the business and would like to sell his restaurant to another local franchisee. Following discussions between the two franchisees, existing team members were told that their employment would end with the sale of the restaurants. We believe this is a bad outcome. The selling franchisee has apologized to his current team and provided letters today that reaffirm their continued employment. We have saved these people. We did this together. Assuming the sale goes through, the buying franchisee has committed that he will maintain the employment of all of the existing team members. I want to say a thank you from the bottom of my heart, Canadians that shared, commented the news story that I broke this morning. Tim Hortons has taken action. Now, we have to hold them accountable. That new franchisee, I want to see all these workers, all of you, keeping in touch with those people at those locations to make sure that that franchisee continues to invest in them and keep them in their jobs if they're doing amazing work, which they have been, from all accounts that I've heard from all of those in the community. Thank you all so much. This is the power of numbers. This is what Canadians do. We stand up for each other. Thank you all. And while I'm really happy with this outcome, I'm still actually personally boycotting Tim Hortons because they're doing this across multiple locations. Until they prove to me systematically they're going to make the change to prioritize Canadians, I will personally continue my boycott, but I'm happy that we all saved these jobs.
Tim Hortons lobbied the government to increase the amount of foreigners that they could hire. And before you say something racist, this is not about the people or where they are coming from. This is about the multi-billion-dollar international corporation that is taking advantage of Canadians and international workers. This is about these people who are trying to come here for a better life. They are also being taken advantage of, just as Canadians are being screwed over as well. With Tim Hortons lobbying MPs over the last 18 months, they were trying to have the cap raised from 20% to 30%. It has now been lowered to 10%. And this is predatory behavior from a former Canadian institution. It is insane to me that you could say that the restaurant and service industry is experiencing any form of worker shortage when there is a mass amount of young people and elderly people and just people in general who are without work right now in Canada. And for all you armchair leftists out there, being against temporary foreign workers is not a right-wing thing. Because when we bring in more temporary foreign workers and when we increase levels of immigration beyond what is sustainable, what happens is that wages for regular Canadians get suppressed. And those workers get abused by companies like Tim Hortons. It's a lose-lose situation.
This video is about temporary foreign workers and the shitty games that Tim Hortons and other business and employers are playing. Let's get into it. So I don't know if you guys have heard, but in Grimsby, they were going to let go of a bunch of their workers and bring in some temporary foreign workers from the LMIA. Those of you who follow me know that I have done many videos in reference to temporary foreign workers in the LMIA program, and let's get into this. So I found this post on Reddit, but I also have been finding news articles and stuff on it over the last, I think, 2 days. So I just wanted to get some stuff together before I made a video. So it says local MP holds Tim Hortons accountable for firing Canadian workers and replacing them with temporary foreign workers. In my friend's town in Ontario, Canada, the local Tim Hortons gave notices to 15 long-term employees saying they were being let go as of January 30th, 2026, and would be replaced with temporary foreign workers. At the 3 other locations, they also fired a large group of Canadian workers and now employ temporary foreign workers in their place. Their local MP, Dean Allison, posted to social media in support of the affected employees, asking Tim Hortons to provide further clarity as to why they were firing all Canadian workers. Since then, Tim Hortons has completely backtracked and made a statement admitting that it was a wrong decision, but it was not confirmed that they do not hire temporary foreign workers. If a large group of people are questioning your hiring practices and you are not in the wrong, wouldn't that be the first thing you would clarify? My friend's community in Ontario is organizing a community-wide boycott of the 4 Tim Hortons that attempted to fire Canadian workers, but they are also asking Canadians in all provinces, no matter where you live, to boycott Tim Hortons as a show of support, because this is happening on a large scale at Tim Hortons all across Canada. If you have a chance, can you please share the Grimsby, Ontario MP's Dean Allison post with your friends to raise awareness? And then here is Dean Allison's post. It says, "Hey Tim Hortons, what are you doing in your town of Grimsby stores? Are you firing all Canadian workers? My constituents and all of us need to know what's happening." Fair enough. And then it just said, if any of you have been to the other 3 locations in Grimsby, Casablanca, Gateway, or the Main Street one since it's been sold, then you know the new owner fired everyone as well and brought in all DEI hires, which I get if it was needed, but what's wrong with all of us? We are doing great, and to just get told we're being fired so they can bring people in, so they can pay them less, the government can give the owner incentives for hiring abroad. I just don't understand. We're all struggling here. The job market is horrible. I know people spending over a year trying to find a job. I'm worried how I'm going to pay my rent, all because of some greedy business owner. You also know how the service from the other locations has gone down drastically, so please boycott them and hurt the owner where it hurts him most, his wallet. I know everyone won't because you all do love your Tim Hortons, but if you could try. And then it said, again, our last day with the original staff at the Double Drive location on Livingston is January 30th, so please come see us beforehand. It'll hopefully put a smile on our faces. Oh, and if anybody knows anyone hiring, there's 15 of us. So that's just a little mini rundown of what's going on in Grimsby, but through reading the comments, I learned that it has also happened in Grand Bend, and everybody who's watching this video can probably speak for their own local Tim Hortons when they say it's happening there too. Like, I myself have applied. I know many people who have applied there and they can't get hired, but then when you go in there, it's a whole bunch of immigrants who have a strong accent, and it's not just the East Indians or, you know, Punjabi or any like that. There's Filipino, you know, stuff like that too. So that's what they're doing. They're bringing in all these people from other countries, doing the LMIA forms, acting like they can't get any employees when that's not the case. Government needs to crack down on this, and like for him to act like he's just aware now that this is happening, like, dude, open your eyes. This has been ongoing. And it's not just in that area. Like, look all across Canada, this has been happening. And it's not even just Tim Hortons either. So just thought I would update you guys, since I do a lot of videos about this. So thanks for watching.
What literally makes me happy right now is that Canadians are doing something about this. You know, I always say, unless there is will to change Canada, there will be no change. Instead of people ranting on social media, they should call out these people who are putting Canada into this mess. And actually, Canadians are doing this because, you know, after they had this news, they had to tag the MPs of that constituency so that they can do something. And that MP literally went ahead and called out Tim Hortons at that constituency, and they actually responded. And the fact that they actually responded, it means that they did this. These are not allegations. These are not speculations. They are actually what they did. This is actually what they did. You know, firing Canadians in their own country so that you can hire temporary foreign workers is so diabolical. I mean, this is a Canadian franchise that is in Canada that Canadians are used to. But you hiring temporary foreign workers who come there to mess our orders. Okay, you've seen Canadians literally complaining about the orders at Tim Hortons. You order order A, they give you order B and C. Literally messed up. The foreign workers they are hiring, they don't even understand English. They don't even, there is a very visible language barrier between Canadians and these temporary foreign workers who Tim Hortons is literally working day in, day out to make sure they hire more and more and more and fire more and more and more Canadians. You see, Canadians are losing jobs in their own country. The government is supporting this. The government is also making sure that these Canadians are not getting employed in their own country. Because what do you mean Tim Hortons has been lobbying MPs for the past 18 months so that they can hire more temporary foreign workers? It means that Canadians are going to lose their jobs. This is also to conclude that Canada government is literally supporting Canadians losing their jobs, is literally contributing Canadians losing their jobs. And here we are now. Tim Hortons, they were lobbying MPs so that they can hire more foreign workers. They are now hiring more foreign workers. Canadians are losing their jobs. Canadians are being replaced with foreign workers. So, what is the solution? If the government cannot provide a solution to a problem, then what are they helping us? You see, the good thing is that Canadians are doing something about it. Because if they saw this and then decide, you know what, it's none of our business, let's just go silent. Well, something could have, we could see they are moving from Ontario to another town, to another state, another street, firing, Canadian firing, and hiring more temporary foreign workers, and that could have been the case. The fact remains that that branch actually was sold to another person, the previous owner, who was hiring at least 10 or 20 Canadians, it was being sold to another person. So this another person saw that I cannot hire these Canadians because their salaries are too expensive. We need to hire more temporary foreign workers because their wages, of course, they're being subsidized. The government will pay them for hiring temporary foreign workers. They will pay them. They will pay these temporary foreign workers low wages than these Canadians. So the Canadian had to go. This should not happen. Canada and Canadians who are watching these videos, unless there is will to change, there will be no change in Canada. And for those who decided to call out this franchise at Ontario, they did a very great job, because now the staff, the Canadian staff, they will maintain their work. But guys, do you think even if they maintain their work there, they will work in peace? Me personally, I think that something might happen. You see, you can be on the counter and then the next day they tell you, since we literally fired you guys and then the people fought for you, you came back, go and work as a cleaner, go and work as in the store. Like, don't tell me what to think, guys, about this. But thanks to everyone who called out this unethical behavior. Canadians should be hired in their own country first, and Canadians should come first. That is not, we are not compromising on that. Canadians own Canada, and Canadians should be put first. These temporary foreign workers and immigrants will come later, but Canadian first.